years, 10 years, and will still be under their master. So it's a gradual approach. We are working on it. Then also, government has put in some resources to make sure that those that are in the informal sector or trained under any condition that we cannot be sure of are given the opportunity to learn the current trends. So we did the
at their base or
based on standards. Based on standards. So we have over 18,000 masters and apprentices and their workers that have gone through this first training under the commission, which we call the Ghana TVET voucher project. I think we did it from 2018 because we launched it at the end of 2017 up to last year, and over 18,000 beneficiaries have gone through that training, and they've been certified on the national qualification framework.
I was saying, I'm just thinking, if somebody learns a skill from a wayside mechanic, that is maybe a garage that is quite known and quite enhanced, is the person likely to get a certificate after passing out?
Yes.
Learning.
So that is what cannot happen overnight. So gradually, we have such a project in place to make sure that masters are certified. Then, of course, when somebody goes there for training, the person can spend 3 days there and spend 2 days in institution. Remember, you were talking about whether we have the infrastructure to take care of these standards we are talking of. If we're able to train the masters and they understand the standards, then of course we have, in case we have 100,000 or 200,000 students, the students spend some amount of time in classroom, and based on the CBT methodology, they can spend 3 days or 2 days at the master's place.
As a way
we
of
don't
polishing.
have that much large industries as other jurisdictions have. But countries have been able to do well by working with their small and medium scale industries. So if the roadside mechanic is also trained based on standards and they do things based on what the industry is doing, we'll be able to send students to go and spend 2 or 3 days there and to also be trained while they are training under their normal institution. So this is the collaboration that government is working on to make sure that we can improve on the system.
Hopefully the uplifted standards or the standardization doesn't make it too bourgeois, sort of. You don't lift it from the grassroots technical education and make it too colorful for the ordinary person that usually belongs there.
No, please. That is, I think I don't agree with you. Who is ordinary? Nobody is ordinary, please.
I'm just saying because if you want
the
to
person who sold my dress is not an ordinary person.
Well, but if you want to pull a simple, I think simple is the word. If you want to pull a simple person from the wayside mechanic shop that is quite
every
busy.
human being that has been created is a complex human being. There's no human being. The people that we don't even regard, they are the ones that make the difference in what we do. Every human being is a complex human being, and they can do anything that you can think of. It's a matter of what you put into the person or you encourage the person to do. So industry is standard. They belong to, now we're talking about electrical vehicles. Electric vehicles.
You need some complexity to be able to.
We cannot ask the kind of skills that we used to deal with as far as carburetors were concerned, whereby I could just take my carburetors, I'll put some gasoline in there and clean it out myself. Now I can. We move from the automatic transmission, the manual transmission to automatic transmission. Now gradually we'll be moving to electric vehicles. So it's about standards. So we as a country cannot be.
So people should step up.
We have to, because if we are talking about employment, I can bet you, government doesn't create employment. Industry, the private sector creates employment. So you as a government need to give the enabling environment for your people to be able to create the employment. Then your economy can turn around.
Okay. Before we look at the synergy between industry and then the apprenticeship, let's quickly look at the Skill Development Fund, the Ghana Skill Development Fund.
Yes.
Is that what is taking care of the upgrade, or there's something more to that?
It's part of it. It's part of it. Government is doing a it's a multifaceted approach because you cannot just tackle one side and leave the other side. Government have free secondary education in place, under which we have the free TVET also happening. In addition to that, we have the Ghana TVET voucher project in collaboration with the German government. There's been additional commitment of 20 million euros. And it's not just a commitment. We've gone through the process. We spent the first 20 million to train over the 18,000 people.
All for training?
Yeah, because when it comes to TVET training, it's expensive. It costs 4 to 5 times the amount of money you need to train a TVET graduate as compared to grammar education. The consumables that you need, the amount of time you need to spend in industry, it costs more. That's why most countries, you realize that the government will be moving away from TVET and they invest in grammar. Over the years, we have focused on grammar education because it's very expensive. If you look at the infrastructure that government have put in place at the various institutions, are very expensive. They are like an industry. And yesterday I went to Cape Coast Technical University and I was talking to them that this is industry. You don't close it down. It should be working, and if nothing at all, you can close it at 5 o'clock. That's the normal time the private sector closes, because the auto mechanic workshop, the spraying booth are state-of-the-art industry standards. And we're expecting training to go on, collaborate with the industry and train people. So in addition to that, I'll come to the Skill Development Fund. There's an additional money that has been committed, almost 40 million USD, committed to train more apprentices. So we are looking at 50,000 outside the mainstream TVET. We are looking at 50,000 people that will have to be reskilled or upskilled or retrained or be trained in a certain type of skill that they would love to do based on industry standards. Now come to the Skill Development Fund. If you look at the 5-year strategic plan, one of the policy objectives is sustainable funding. And to do that, government wants to have a fund that can support and bring industry on board, make sure industry have the skill they need to be able to create jobs. So the Ghana Skill Development Fund, that was launched on the 17th of this month. We have had the first call of proposal put out. And it's a challenge fund to support industry. Because let's take, for instance, a carpenter who has a carpentry workshop and produces maybe 5 chairs or 2 chairs. And they believe that if I'm able to fix this gap in skills within my industry, I'll be able to expand, improve on my productivity, expand and employ more people. So that's what the fund is seeking to do. I could be a poultry farmer and realize that with my poultry farm, I'm lacking the skills, and aside, I'm not able to come out with the amount of birds that I need to. But if you're able to help me with this skill gap, I'll be able to improve on the number of birds and even help governments operate to cut down the importation of poultry. So that's what the fund seeks to do. So it's not a fund to give injection of money into business. No, but it's focusing on nothing but skill.
I was actually even wondering about injection of personnel. What's the collaboration? Whilst industry is looking out to be helped by these kind of hands-on personnel from the TVET institutions, what's the collaboration going on? Is it for apprenticeship and then onward employment, or how is it done?
So you are trying to, you are mixing two things at the same time, but we are doing those two things at the same time. So we are working on focusing on the enterprises to see, because there are existing enterprises that need some improvement in their skills. And you know, in Ghana, most of the time it's about the quality and the standards, what the customer wants, which we are not able to meet. Sometimes you're able to meet it for 1 or 2 months and boom, it's gone. You realize that productivity tends to go down. How do we sustain those productivity and move these organizations to the next level? One typical example maybe is one of the organizations that has benefited from the fund, like Emigo, who produces Yomi. How can Yomi move to the next level in its life as an organization. But we are not focusing on moving to the next level by injection of funds into the business to buy more. But we are looking at what are the critical skill needs of Emigo that if we're able to provide it, it will help the organization to go up. Then the apprenticeship is on the other side. So whilst we are focusing on demand, we are also looking at supply. We are also training people to look at industries that need injection of personnel. So the apprenticeship training too, we are saying that out of the 50,000, at least we are expecting that within the shortest possible time, 70% of them should find jobs. And we are training them based on industries that needs them. So these are the two things that are moving at the same time.
Okay. As we wrap up, we don't want to think that it's an imposition, but how are these policies and these new standards being accepted, especially by those who already in the TVET